Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Remarkably quiet. Okay then, thank you. We'll have another opportunity at the end of the meeting. Review and approval of the December 5th minutes. I saw nothing outstanding.
I have no corrections.
On the first page, Karen, under elections and vital statistics, the second line, ballot counters should be plural.
Okay.
And on the on page 3, under the revaluation of property, I believe that the third line should read update of $35,000 with a field review and $10,000 for 2019 utility assessing. That's
It actually is litigation that's ongoing with one of our attorneys.
well, they in prior years, I was always told that $10,000 was utility assessing.
And you know what? Because the litigation is under legal, isn't it?
I would
Okay.
expect to
Yep.
find it under legal.
Yeah. I think you're right. Okay.
So we'll change that to a
Yeah,
sentence.
thank you.
Mm.
Thanks, Ellen.
That's all I saw.
Any other changes? None forthcoming? Entertain a motion to accept.
So moved.
We have a
Second.
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 And a second. Those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Moving on, our CIP presentation.
Hello,
Hi.
I'm Jill Cromwell, in case any of you don't know me, and I'd just like to thank you for letting us present this to everyone today. The committee is here with me. George Getman, our vice chair, unfortunately is in the hospital tonight, but otherwise he will be here. And Mary Ann Lynch was our secretary this year. And I think you know these two members from the committee that were on it. And we have Polly Jeffers and Maureen Hadley from the planning committee, and you know Lloyd also from the selectmen. So we had a really great committee, and the commission and department chairs all did a great job of submitting things to us and you know, talking to us if we had questions, answering them, so we could prepare this document. So I think you all know what we're tasked with doing, is taking those things that come in and trying to prioritize them and put them together into a 10-year plan. And so if you look at page 23, you will see, if you get your bifocals on, so you can read the fine print, the 10-year plan as it came together. And basically, when you total it down at the bottom in the dark blue, you will see the total for each year. And under that, the capital capacity, which, just to remind you, that is a projection based on actual capital expenses from past years, and then just a trend line projecting that onward. So it's a mathematical trend. So then we plot that, and then we have the figures underneath that tell you the capital capacity minus the total project expense. So when we have a minus negative figure, that means that we have gone over the capital capacity. A little bit counterintuitive, but that's what it means. And I guess the other thing that we sort of kept looking at as we were looking at all the list of projects that came forward is that a lot of them are pretty much set in advance. For instance, the leases on the fire equipment the loan payments for the fire station, the fairly regular amount for paving and road improvements. And once you plot all those things in, it doesn't leave much capital capacity for anything new. So it's always a struggle to try to come down and make it a little bit less and a little bit closer to that capacity, so that it's an even trend in the town's budgeting. For 2019, the first year on the chart, we recommended bumping a lot of projects out that were submitted to us to be in 2019, and we did not put them in 2019 because we felt that the numbers were, already just too much in there. So of those, the first is the town office interior doors. That was requested for 2019, and we bumped it out to 2022. Those are the interior doors. We did the outside ones last year, and we felt that, let it be more ADA compliant. But we also thought if we're about to look into moving the police station to a new building, why would we pay to do those interior doors and put special one-way glass on it if the police department may not be there in a couple of years? So I think that prompted us to move it out further. The Great Meadow Trail, under conservation, we bumped that out to 24 because, again, it's nice to have. We all would like to have it done, and we really appreciated all the volunteer work and time that would be donated to bring that cost down. But it's just something we didn't think we needed to do now, and not until we have other more important pressing needs done first. So we bumped that one out, and we thought that perhaps they could even do some fundraising to bring down some of that cost in later years. The trail itself is only a mile or two long, so it's similar to the Central Park trail. It's not something bigger and different, which is a concern mostly to me, but I don't know if the other committee members have totally agreed with that. But we are in favor of doing it at some point. Sawyer Road paving, we also bumped out to 22. And mostly because it was voted down in the town meeting before, and we have a lot of other paving increases that are in the new study that the selectmen had done and brought forward this higher amount. Last year it was only $250,000. This year we're up to $285,000, and it does include some more road work based on that study they had done. So we thought Sawyer Road could be bumped out. The Lake Road culvert wall and dredging was part of another project that we did pieces of. So we did the boat ramp already, and so we thought that perhaps the wall reconstruction could be moved out. The same with the Union Wharf bulkhead, that is something that could be put off a little bit. Although they are both important assets to the town, and that one especially, a lot of the island residents use that to come in. So I think it was Lloyd who mentioned that, geez, maybe we should assess the island residents some special tax to help pay for part of that, which is an idea that maybe you all should explore in the future. The 10 Mile Beach project, again, we didn't get that until
19 miles.
19 Mile, thank you. I keep writing 10, I don't know why. 19, I had to correct that in the report I had. The 19 Mile Beach project, again, I know we have a good estimate and that we worked on that, but it was never on our radar. It was never submitted to us. It just appeared this year. So it's one of those planning things. We would like to see these kind of projects come to us before it's the year that they want them paid for. And we just felt because the watershed study is being done right now, and then the 19 Mile Brook baseline report might impact what we actually do there. So why not bump that out 1 year until we get those other reports and know if it will impact that, and so wait for that work to be done. So those were the ones that I bumped out from 2019. There are some others that were wanted in 2020 that we bumped out further also, and that's the message under the police, the message sign and radar trailer. We bumped out the extra police car replacement, that they had stuck an extra year in. We felt that, they could keep the old car as a backup, and that would be okay, but we didn't feel like it needed to be replaced into that 8-year replacement schedule.
But you have a vehicle for 19.
We do, that's the regular schedule, and that is something that we talked about a little bit, because we realized that the staffing's been down and it hasn't been used as much this year, and so, but I think that's an issue for the selectmen probably to wrestle with,
Right.
and not for the CIP committee, so we didn't go there. We left the 8-year schedule as it has been. And then the truck weight scales. And I think even Clay himself now is thinking that, after he's doing the study that he's doing now to see how the revenue has changed since he's upped the prices a little for the construction degree, that we may not need it. It will cost more to operate it. That was the operational cost of the big thing there. Not just the cost of the scales. So we said, let's just bump that out and leave it there as a placeholder until that study's finished and it can be analyzed more. But if you look at the totals for 2020 and 2021, you'll see that we are way over capacity for those years. And mostly that's due to the addition of the capital reserve fund that we put in for engine 4. So instead of doing a lease purchase starting in the year 2025, we took a look at the advice that some people at town meeting brought forward about having a capital reserve fund for some equipment and saving in advance for it. So we said, well, let's see what we could do. So because we need it in 5 years, if we split, we didn't want to put it in this year because we knew we had a lot of other big things coming up this year, so we moved it to 2020. We would need $120,000 a year to save, to buy it outright instead of doing a lease purchase. And that will save the town $150,000 because we'll be earning interest on that money every year, and we will save the interest payments of the lease purchase. So it's definitely something we should look at. But it's kind of a big impact to put it in now with only 5 years left. If we took engine 2, which we just bought this year, and planned out a capital reserve for its replacement 20 years from now, we'd probably need only less than $40,000 a year put aside. Probably interest, it would be maybe $35,000. So, that's something we should maybe look at for next year, but we're not sure, but we recommended doing it this way and trying it. Maybe if we have some windfall and have a lot of money left in our undesignated fund balance, and we could pay for this year and not have it be in here in 2020, it would go over better. But we just thought it was worth plotting that out so you could see what would happen. What else do I have? And then, of course, the biggest thing is we realized that the recent large donation to the library building fund is totally throwing off our capital plan, because we budgeted the library with a 20-year loan and $800,000 being funded.
Can I help?
Yes.
Please do.
I don't mean to interrupt, but this is a good time as any. Yesterday morning, I did announce to the selectmen that we had a gift of, it turned out to be $525,000 in appreciated stock, which is now sitting in our account. And if you remember the Broadway show Evita, the money keeps rolling in from everywhere. This morning, we received a check for $50,000 from another foundation. So the long and the short of it is right now, as of this evening, out of a $1,997,000 project, what we do not have in cash or capital reserve funds right now is $339,000. So we're pretty much, from looking at your figure, about $500,000 to the good. So
139 instead or 200?
339.
339.
Still needed to be raised.
Yeah. It was $50,000 more yesterday morning. I I didn't print enough for everybody this evening because I'm running out of ink. It changes every day.
Buy you some more ink?
As a matter of fact, it did change every day because we were at $339,619, and then Christie sent me an email this afternoon, we got a $1,000 check in this afternoon. So now it's $338,000.
That's wonderful.
Absolutely astounding.
That's great.
And I'm sorry I ruined your printing.
And congratulations.
Well,
Yes, ruined our whole report.
All I did was
It was running in the right way.
Yeah, ruined in the right way, yeah.
sorry to ruin your
We
printing.
all were hoping to win the lottery and be able to donate it. Yeah.
I can't tell you how many times I dreamed of that.
Yeah, so, you know, everybody's gonna have to grapple with that change and how you wanna fund that little bit, maybe some kind of a short-term loan for 5 years or something, or
Or
put
pay
it
it
all
off,
in 1 year, you
or
know?
pay it off in one and you can actually balance out your whole CIP.
Mhm. So,
But there's a lot of movement I can see in this anyway.
yeah, because we realized the selectmen have a lot more information on some of these projects than we were able to obtain. I thought it was worthwhile for you to get the input of 8 other citizens in our view, looking at the projects with, you know, some depth of information. But that's why we also do this chart that you see on page 21, which shows what we proposed, what the selectmen proposed, what the budget committee proposed, and what the votes were on each thing, and then town meeting approval, whether it passed or didn't pass. And so you can see last year, the Sodom Ridge project was added in that we never got in our chart, so that was 88,000. So that makes, you know, that bumped up the capital spending, which then in the long run bumps up our trend line again. And each year, there's often things like that.
And you're only dealing with expenses, you're not dealing with revenue.
Right.
Because the other thing that we're gonna find out tonight is that we've got an average, I think, of somewhere a little over $20,000 a year of revenue for the ambulance. So that really offsets the cost of the ambulance if you factor in the revenue side.
Right. Right.
And that should go up.
So just to touch on the things that we did think were important that we left in for 2019, the town tax map updates and the mapping, the updating of that is required, and we should be able to do that with the new vendor. The 19-mile road baseline report, except that if we could get Wolf Road paid for it, that would be lovely.
But that's gonna reflect on the revenue side.
Okay. Approval of the lease payments for the rescue on the ambulance and NG2, because whether that whole issue's been resolved with DRS. DRA.
What I'm here for.
Oh, exactly. The SCBA capital reserve, we feel strongly that, you know, that's required equipment and we should be saving for that every year so the firefighters will have their rescue breathing equipment when it is needed. The paving and road improvements, the library, the police capital reserve fund. You know,
And you didn't receive I'm sorry. I keep interrupting.
no, that's fine.
You didn't receive the paving report from Lakes Region?
We did, at
Okay,
the
because
very
it's
end.
not a straight line, 285.
We know,
Okay.
but because it didn't start at 285 either,
Okay. So
we
you'll figure that
decided to leave it in there for this year, realizing that I know you were thinking of a 10% increase
Right.
going forward.
Right. And there is I think, a chart that shows the,
Yeah, so that will be an increase in the out years.
yeah.
Yeah. It was so late that we were
Yeah,
actually
well, that's
finalizing
fine.
the report when we got that, so we just
Once you
decided
got it.
to leave it there, but we do understand that, and we talked about whether we should try to change it at that point, but we said no. Yes, I guess just the last thing is the tax rate predictions that are on the last page, 25. We attempt to project the tax rates. And if you look at the 2021 for the town part, you'll see that's like a 7% jump, and that's again because that 2020 was so high with that capital reserve for the fire engine there. So now, you know, all that will be readjusted. But it's actually predicted that capital reserve, which is the second line, is based on what's in our plan on page 23. So, you know, it makes us think we have to be a little more careful in trying to look at the out years too, which we tend not to put as much time into as we do on the, you know, the next year, the 2019. And then everything else is predicted at just a 3% increase for the county and the schools. And we do contact them, and they did not have any capital projects that they knew of that were coming forward, so. So this will all change too as those, everything's revised in the future. Are there any other questions you have for us?
Thank you very much, great work, as always. As we like to say, failing to plan is planning to fail.
Yes. Good. Thank you. Did I stick to my 10 minutes or did I go?
Dead on.
Up your game.
Finish strong.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you, gentlemen.
Guys. Thank you, committee.
Moving on, 4195, cemetery budget. Sue.
Christmas like.
We have over $5,000 in expenses before the end of the year, which is around, the total for this year around 20,000.
You had 5,000, you had 792, that would be, that 24,000?
No, she's going from the 21 through.
Oh, you have a newer sheet than I do.
Oh, okay,
So the 5,000's already been added on yours,
okay.
is that right?
Yeah, right now
It
we're
looks like it.
19,792.
23,450. Is that what you're asking for?
Yes, and I'm looking at this year's
Oh, it's just today.
2018 expenditures. My sheet has 14,692. So
25,000.
we've added 5, we've spent 5 since then, and there's another few hundred that will be coming in. So, and we reshuffled the line items and what lines the expenditures go on to try to get them more appropriate to what we're actually spending. And starting at the top with the sexton, there's another twist to that as well. The sexton gets paid, when you buy a cemetery plot, you pay for the right to be buried. You pay for corner markers. You have to buy corner markers and somebody has to set them. The purchase of those markers and the installation have not been in this account. They've been in an in and out account that isn't part of the budget. We're putting it in the budget. So that's the increase on the sexton line, the $600 that he typically would make by installing corner markers. And there's a new line for cornerstones and metal stakes of $850. That's buying the materials.
And there'll be any revenue on it? Is that what you're saying?
And so there should be a revenue line that would offset the $600 on the sexton and $850 for the markers, because the person who's buying them pays the whole. Cemetery maintenance, that line increases because we're eliminating the old cemetery mowing line, which was last year 1,800. We're combining that with cemetery maintenance. There really isn't any difference. We've got 12 or 15 cemeteries that are done under cemetery maintenance, and then the rest under old cemetery mowing. So we're just combining those, so they don't have to be quite so itemized. Cemetery improvements. We are purchasing metal gates for the townhouse cemetery, 3 of them. And the cost to purchase those and install them came in about, well, not quite double what we expected, but well over what we expected.
Murphy's Law.
So that's the $5,000 that came out already this year, went for the deposit on purchasing the gates. And the increase on this this line here is for the installation of the gates. Cemetery improvements.
Out of curiosity, what happened to your office supplies?
Office supplies, last year we bought a fireproof file cabinet,
Oh,
which was
okay.
$1,500.
Thank you.
Yeah. One was enough for now. The French cemetery repairs will begin again in the spring. Those are being paid for from a donation that we received. This year we also had damage to the Edgerly Cemetery by a huge branch coming down, wiped out 3 stones, and we realized the tree was dead, and the next branch to come down was going to take out about 15. So we spent $4,200 getting that tree and a couple of other trees removed.
Is that in the maintenance line?
We took $2,000 out of our maintenance for that, and the other two, it was $4,200. Took $2,100 out of the maintenance line, and we took $2,100 out of our donation fund.
Do you charge for perpetual care for a cemetery plot, or?
It's part of the purchase of right to burial.
Okay.
It's no longer a separate item, because if it's a separate item, then it has to go into an individual trust.
Well, no, I was just curious if you did that one. I was just curious to know how you handled that. Just
It's
being
part of the cost to buy the right to burial. It includes perpetual care,
Mhm.
but it's not called that anymore because of the bookkeeping that
Right.
you see in the town report at the end of the year, the list of all the trusts.
Mhm.
Those are all individual perpetual care plots.
Didn't the state rule that you had to only spend the money in that account for that lot?
Yes,
And so
you
you
can
have
only
to-
spend a fractional amount of
25 cents
income.
that you're gonna spend.
And we still haven't come up with the formula, what does it cost to take care of a lot in each different cemetery?
I was just curious about how you handled it. It makes more sense to do it the way you're doing it, I think.
We think so too.
Does the improvements, that includes resetting all of those granite stones? and-
That is Old Cemeteries Restoration. We have a person who comes in once a year. She was only able to get here one day with her crew.
Mhm.
And I can't remember that. Do you remember how many stones they did? It's 8, maybe?
I was gonna say 7.
7 or 8 at the townhouse cemetery this year. Next year they'll do the 3 at Edgerly. get broken this year.
Mhm.
And then there are a number of others at the Blake side of the Edgewood Blake Cemetery that are leaning and
And you reset all those huge granite slabs that make up stone walls, and isn't the French?
that's what's happening on the
On
French.
French, yeah.
That's gonna come from the expendable trust fund.
Yeah, they built a retaining wall already for structural support. But then the ground was too wet to get their equipment in, so they had to stop. Thank you.
Any other questions? All set? Thank you, Sue. We have a motion on the,
I move that we approve cemeteries, general fund 4195 in the amount of $23,450.
do we have a second?
Second.
Moved and second, further discussion? Those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Moving on to, piece of paper. To ambulance, 4215. Evening, Al. Good evening. What can you tell us about this line item?
So ambulance is a one-year contract with Stewart's Ambulance for 2019. It runs from December to 31st, obviously December 31st. It's $192,479.19. It's a 2.5% New Hampshire CIPI increase. Last year's was 188.36 for last year's budget. We're recommending 1 year to see what happens with the other towns that are around us that may have contracts that are coming up. Also, we had gone to a consortium meeting in Mountainborough to meet with 4 towns, Meredith, Center Harbor, Sandwich, and Moultonborough, obviously, to see what the consortium was all about. It is a fairly convoluted situation as far as to become part of the consortium. All the selectmen and the different boards have to agree to have you part of their consortium, as far as it goes, obviously. The amount that we pay goes off of a couple different things. One, the amount of runs that you do in your town. So the more runs that you do in your town, the more expensive it's going to be. The other is they go off the town assessment, I believe, as far as how much the town is worth. They were going to go back to their different boards to try to give us an idea of what the cost would be. There was a possibility of a savings of about $5,000, 30 total, but that would be their decision of whether or not that we got any of the $5,000 savings. And once you become part of the consortium, there's no guarantee that you're going to get an ambulance. If the ambulance is available, it comes out. If it's tied up in one of those other 4 towns, then you don't necessarily get it.
Is it
Right.
would it be one ambulance for all of the towns?
No, what the situation is currently is that there are 2 ambulances in the Moultonborough Fire Station that service them, and one of those is pretty much guaranteed for us, and there are 2 ambulances in the Meredith section, which they have a couple more, not necessarily manned, but they have them there because that's their base in Meredith. Right now, we have a guaranteed ambulance that either comes from Wolfboro or from Moultonboro, depending on what part of town the call is in. So, and either way, it's about 8 miles as far as travel time, so the distance is about right. So we go out, we do first response. If the patient is to the point that they need to be transported right off, we have the opportunity to do that ourselves, if they're critical. And if we have the personnel that can transport, if they're not a critical patient, then a lot of times we wait for stewards to come in and transport. We have transported 23 times this year from the beginning of the year, and it has worked out well. A lot of those are second calls that have come in. We've been having back-to-back calls in a lot of different situations, or more than one patient at a house, as far as it goes, and we found that it's worked out, fairly well. We've had just in the last month, we've had at least 3 situations that we needed a 4-wheel drive to get into the patients in a couple of different areas, and we ended up transporting them in. Once they're in the ambulance, it doesn't make any sense to switch them out. And there's no, the ambulance company hasn't complained about us doing the transports as far as it goes. The $192,480 guarantees that we will have a guaranteed ambulance in town with at least an EMTA and EMT, so advance EMT and a regular EMT on that rig. I don't know what you want to know for further information.
Well, did we have a multi-year contract with Stewart?
We did.
in the past?
With this, it will end in December 31st. We had a 3-year contract, and it went up with the New Hampshire CPI each year, and that was what the increase was.
So one part that she sort of, isn't for everything, but I think glossed over is, in this consortium, if we were to join that, we'd lose the availability of the Wolfboro ambulance.
Yeah.
So now we would only have others available from Moultonboro and our own ambulance. So there's a lot of parts to it that need to be.
Your savings of $5,000?
Yes.
That doesn't sound like a very good deal to me, but that's just.
Maybe.
But we need to look.
Well, no, I agree with that. I appreciate you looking.
And I think that we can look further. There are all kinds of things that are going on around, the different towns and stuff like that you hear. A lot of it not good, as far as ambulance and things. And things are just not getting better as far as ambulance wise, just because of the amount of money. The amount of money is going up that they're charging to transport people, because they're trying to keep Medicare will only pay a certain amount, so they reduce whatever to try to get more money in. The different insurance companies are paying less, obviously, also.
So do you think that staying with Stewart's is the best option?
I think it's like the only option that we have right now, but at least we're not against the wall of, if they left tomorrow or something happened, we can transport as long as we have the personnel to do so, as far as it goes. Before, when the ambulance walked out on us, they said we were done, we didn't have a choice. We have that choice of transporting or not.
How viable is Stewart's as a company?
They've been really good. I have no complaints as far as they've covered everything that they said that they would. if we run into a situation that we need 3 or 4 ambulances, if they have them available, they send them. Prime example, this last week, Wolfboro had Wolfboro contracts for technically 2 ambulances. They had 4 calls that took place in less than an hour. Our ambulance went to assist with their 3rd call because the Stewart's ambulance that was coming in from Moultonborough and going to cover at our station had no more than got to our station, and the 4th call went out in the town of Wolfboro. So they used up 3 of their own ambulances from Stewart's in less than an hour and hours. The next ambulance would be coming out of Moultonborough to come down and cover us as far as it goes. We had another call that came in our town, but it ended up being more of a lift assist, which we were able to handle and take care of the whole situation without having to transport anyone. But you can use up the ambulances very quickly as far as it goes. So you have to have backups coming in.
I move that we approve ambulance account 4215 in the amount of $192,480.
We have a second.
I'll second that.
Moved and seconded. Those in favor? Opposed? Thank you, man.
Thank you. Did that information that you
Thank you very much. It was very helpful. I thought your estimates were maybe a little on the high side, but not totally out of line.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Next up is 4210, it's a revisit of the police budget. This was concerning members questioning on the part-time police positions. Give the chief an opportunity to restate his case, and then we'll discuss it further. And those members, if you had a question as to,
Mine, I'm the one that asked to revisit it because I'm questioning the need for 2 part-time officers. I hesitate to add headcount. It becomes very expensive, and 50% of the town budget is payroll and benefits, so it's easy for that to get out of hand. And I looked at the statistics for the police department over the last few years, and they are not going up. I also looked at the population for the town, and it's remained pretty steady, trending down. So I didn't understand the need to add extra firepower in the police department.
So, I guess I looked at it like where we're at. We're gonna have some times we're gonna fill some shifts. And I was looking at a way of trying to fill those shifts. As you said, salaries and benefits, there's no benefits on part-time employees. It works out to essentially 2 shifts a week at that, 1,000 is essentially a little under 2 shifts a week. But I'm obviously looking at more in the summer than the rest of the year. I can't go too far without getting into personnel and personal, but I don't know that we're gonna have 4 all the time. So I don't see it as necessarily growing it per se. There's gonna be some times where we're gonna be short-staffed over the next period of time is what I see. So it was a way of trying to fill some of those gaps without necessarily paying overtime or having a vacant. That's what I was trying to do.
how many people do we have in uniform right now?
3.
3?
How are you coming with hiring the replacement for the officer who left?
Doing a background.
So when do you expect they would start?
Depends. If this person, well, if someone were certified, it'd be sooner obviously than if they're not. If they're not certified, it would be towards August, probably before they could start. Because the academy doesn't start till like May. Actually, it'd be after August because you'd be talking May. Starts, the academy ends in April. Next one starts like the beginning of March, beginning of May. So it'd be May, June, July, August. And then they'd be out, able to work on their own probably in the fall. So I was hoping to have, as part of the other part of the part-time, is if they're not certified, that's where I end up. If I get somebody certified, which is a possibility, that it would be sooner. It would still be, if they started, beginning of it could be about 8 weeks of field training. So it'd be March or so before that person would be.
If you were back to a full complement of staff, would you still need the 2 part-time?
I'd still like to have one, just because I feel there's gonna be some gaps that are gonna need to be filled.
The reason I ask is that I've given this a fair amount of thought since last week, and I appreciate your situation, but these are positions on a nationwide basis are not easy to fill right now. There are a huge amount of openings nationwide for police officers.
On NPR this morning, did you hear that?
I didn't.
It was 70,000
Yeah.
estimate open positions, and it's the hardest position to fill in local government.
Well, how, given that, how easy would it be to find part-time police?
It hasn't been easy. I've got one person lined up, because earlier we talked about trying to fill it, so I got somebody, I'd given a conditional offer, but I have held off on doing the background based upon this conversation tonight. It's not easy. I had a few people reach out and they decided not to. One said they'd be too busy, so they decided they wouldn't be able to put off. If they're full-time certified somewhere else, say they work locally, they're gonna be busy in the summer at their department, so they're not gonna be able to help us when we need extra help necessarily. That's what I found in the past. When we did actually have 4 to part-time a couple times in the past, but they didn't work a whole lot because they were full-time somewhere else, and it was very sporadic trying to get them to put in shifts, because say they worked in a town joining us, well, when I need the help in the summer, where does that place need help this summer? And if they're full-time, that's the job and benefits that goes towards their retirement system, so they're gonna wanna work there, not here. It's tough. I mean, it's, in fact, I've been called, NHPR called me last week, and I sent them to some other people to talk to about Guardians. We had 5 people who were supposed to show up, only 3 showed up for our test.
So we don't have a detail line in the police budget. So this is that's the most expensive way to have coverage, is to get detail rate. And I think what the chief's trying to do is have some options as to what direction goes in given circumstances, without having to go to that expense.
Are you getting any positive response for the veteran program that's coming out? We're trying to get veterans coming out of the military into police or fire. I think there's been a national program that's been announced on that basis.
I'm not aware of that particular program, but they were people in the test process that I got the results from. Like I said, there were over 100 that took the test, there's 70 or so that passed. Sent out emails, I wrote 10 respondents who are still in the military, and one of the three that passed the PT test had just gotten out himself. But he's also got, like, last I knew, he had like 3 other places he was testing for, so it's very competitive.
If it was another position besides police department, I think I would probably, I would feel more strongly along your lines of reasoning, but, you know, we have 3 people right now. If we get a 4th, the best we're gonna do is probably see them by August, best case scenario. And, even if it only came down to 1 part-time position that was filled, certainly I think that's gonna put us in better stead than going into our busy season next year with 3 people.
Well, how have you been covering that?
The Sheriff's Department, State Police, have been covering quite a bit. You know, one time there was a domestic, the sheriff's office was in Bartlett. So they had to call state police for somebody closer, and a closer agency, but that's what we've been doing best we can. You know, obviously the 3 of us and get caught up again, it's not as dramatic, but it's been part of, you know, they take emergencies. So if there's like somebody complaining about something minor, well, that sits for the next day necessarily. You know, nothing that they have to respond to right away. So we end up with not just our normal, what we have during the day, but a few other things that might have come in that weren't super critical, so we respond. I mean, I appreciate the help they're offering, but I think this gives us a little more flexibility and I just feel we're gonna have some coverage issues next summer. I do, you know, there is a possibility that somebody could be on sooner that's certified, but there's some steps I have to go through, so I can't say for sure that if I could get somebody certified through the process, it would be about 8 weeks of field training. So that would be putting us to March, but there's not a lot of certified out there, and it's so competitive. Molten Bros offered $5,000 as a hiring bonus for certified people, and they didn't get any bites. Chichester's offering $10,000 spread over 3 years. But I mean, there's probably like 3 or 4 towns I know of that are offering these kinds of signing bonuses. I think that 5 that I know of, just because. But you know, they're trying to rob from each other.
It's the same pie.
Everybody's trying to pull from the same pie.
Helen, maybe I can help you with your decision.
Yes.
In 1980, the department issued 78 speeding tickets. They convicted 18 drunk drivers. They issued 950 motor vehicle offense warnings. They were able to do 316 defective equipment checks and 40 other motor vehicle offenses, as well as a narrative of other crimes they worked with. They had a chief and a sergeant. I rest my case.
Well, things have changed since 1980. We have to have continuing education. We have
Oh, that's in here too. Don't worry. You should read it sometime, man.
Is it?
Yeah, let me get the page for you, all this stuff, the whole narrative.
Once again, the zero-sum game.
Yes. Let me make sure I get that right for you. So I had it marked in the paper, but I'll get it for you. In fact, Matt, take it home. It'll be a lot easier for you.
Well, I only went back to 2009, and I took these figures out of the annual reports for the town, and I graphed them out. So, you know, these are all
Yep.
about the same trending down. This one is the investigation reports non-crime. I mean, it's dropped from 800 down to about 150.
From what year?
2009.
And now we do have a personnel line item for police officer number 2, right? $53,360, yet, but we don't have police officer number 2 at this point in time.
Right.
That's correct.
So, is there any possibility that some of these part-timers could be paid out of that line until we do get police officer number 2, rather than having separate items for each one of those part-timers?
They are in the same line. In the budget, it's, no, on there.
Oh,
They're broken out on there.
Yes,
But on the budget, it's, police
Right.
department officer's salary
Mhm.
includes
Yes.
all of them.
right. But the thing is, if we don't have the 4th officer, yet we budget money for it, why can't we pay one of the part-timers or both of them out of that budget line item, so to speak, in personnel administration? And I'm,
How often are we being covered by county and state police at this point, in terms of filling your gaps? Are you having to do a lot of requests?
Fair number right now. So also Fade just got back, so he's still getting up. But we're still filling it out. I'm still trying to catch up with some of this stuff because I've got some cases that came in that I have to catch up on. So we're still trying to catch up. So it's probably 3 or 4 a week we're filling in right now. I'd have to look at the schedule for the definitive number, but
What's your weekly payroll? Yeah.
I would have it off the top of my head.
Because you're looking at a $28,000 increase in that line. And part of that's a 53rd week of pay. And I'm gonna have to say, and I told Ron this earlier, and I know I told Gordon this, and I'll certainly tell Guy this, if you wanna come up with a bottom line number, that's what you get. You don't get to manage the department. So if the chief decides to hire some part-time help, he's gonna have to come to us without approval.
Mhm.
But he can only spend whatever you get.
Right.
I don't, you know, personally, I think with summer coming at us and the uncertainty of what we're facing over the next couple of months, I think, and the fact that you've got an employment problem in terms of finding individuals, I don't think we should shortchange ourselves.
Well, I would like to see us lower the total budget by those 2 people, because I think there is room in the salary line in the interim if he needs help from the outside. So I did come up with a number for the bottom line. I came up with a number for the line and a number for the bottom line.
What's your number for the bottom line?
$410,983.
So what's that increase?
It's a decrease of $31,940.
How did you come up with that when there's only like 20 some odd thousand in the
I
part-time?
thought it was 20,000.
Well, I took out the uniforms for the 2 of them, and I took out the radios for them.
Could you live with a compromise of 1 officer? 1 part-time? I'm just throwing it out for discussion.
Yeah, well, I really think we should take out both of them, but I would
If we
compromise with
were to staff a fully staffed department right now, I would agree with you 100%. Because that's a statistic, one of my harder words of all time. I'll run the numbers as you did, and I said, yes, 4 full-time people could handle this position, but until we have that 4th position filled, I'm just leery.
But until we have that 4th position filled, we also have salary in that line.
I understand that.
more than.
Yes.
I'll second the number. Do you put a motion on?
The 410,000.
I'll second it.
So that's a motion. We have a second. Is there further discussion on this?
So this is to change what we previously approved.
This is to,
Yes.
as a revisit, this is to replace the bottom line with $410,983 from $448,263.
What we had approved before was 442,923.
Yes, I'm sorry, 442,923. I read that.
What's the motion going to be?
Yeah, I move that we change the total police budget to 410,983 from 442,923.
It has been moved, it has been seconded. Is there further discussion on this? Those in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Those opposed?
Nay.
I have to, I voted for the budget originally, but it's a license.
So it's 4-3.
4-3.
How'd you vote, Andy?
Abstain.
Okay.
Okay then. Thank you, Andy.
Thank you very much for your
Thank you.
clarification.
Andy, you want to take that with you? Yeah.
No, I looked at it.
All right.
Thank you for reopening.
Oh, that's fine, that's fine. Everything's equal. Most of them want to suspend it. Moving on to legal, which is a revisit.
What's the number on that?
4153.
4153. At our last meeting, the bottom line was 49,900, and tonight it's at 53,500. With significant line item on the top line, going from 4,000 to 44,000.
Okay, on at Monday's meeting, I was called away to trust meeting down in Hillsborough, so I was not there for the discussion. I don't know if Lloyd wants to talk about this, but I know basically we're staring down the gun barrel of some serious litigation with Wolfboro, and to not shortchange ourselves in the processes. But I think most of that was driven by.
Is this the litigation over the?
Rapid inflation or
Yeah.
Infiltration.
basin. Right.
The following is public information, so I'll categorize it. There are 3 junk auto locations in town that our lawyer just has to do more than nudge these people along. Our building inspector has solved 5 issues, but these are just 3 that involves legal. There's also access to, off of Brown Road, the rock issue. There's someone who's, has a strong opinion. There's a tax deed eviction where the person has appealed it and has a right to. There's a pending zoning board appeal about a condo decision. There's the utility case that we think is going to be nearing an end in our favor, but that's 10,000 right there. And I have to agree with my partner here, my co-board member. We don't know what the litigation is going to be with Wolfboro. And that's not mean-spirited, it's just having someone who acts in our best interest.
The other thing that we found when we had our, I don't know what you call that, the gang of 8 or whatever, the local boards of select and all met for discussion with Lakes Region Planning Commission and others. And one of the things that came up was the lack of cell phone service in this area. And what Lakes Region has, what's that?
Oh, nothing.
Okay. What Lakes Region is, the cell phone companies would not divulge their
Proprietary maps.
yeah, everything's proprietary with us. So they wouldn't tell you what point in 1 kilometer square was actually had cell phone service. And so Lakes Region went to the extent of buying $1,500 worth of phones so that they could go throughout the area.
Can you hear me now?
And can you hear me?
Thank you.
And what they found is that their assumption is that the telephone companies are saying, okay, there's cell phone service right here. So that means in this kilometer block, there's cell phone service. And it could be Verizon, it could be AT&T, it could be Deutsche Telekom, or whoever it's.
One of 4.
Yeah, whoever's here. And so you have to have 4 phones in your car to have cell phone service. So there's a movement afoot to do the same thing that we've done with the utilities, which is to actually all get together and get some legal action done so we can get some.
A copy of that initial report from Lakes Region was made available today to us.
So it's things like that. It's getting cell phone service available. It's making sure the utilities are paying their fair share. And it's making sure that the 19-mile perk doesn't become a super fun site. So that's the reason.
This is a little weird. Who's the department head that makes the request here for legal? Where it says department head and then selectmen's request? Yeah, who's the department
You're
head?
the department.
You're the department, okay. That was funny the way this
See what matches there? Although ZBAs didn't request anything. We wanted to break that apart. And the chair had asked about the trustee of the trust fund. And that's really a placeholder. We haven't had to use that. And, but the trustee of the trust fund felt strongly enough that he wanted something on that line. So we left that $600.
Well, it's down from 1,000, so. It's down from 1,000, so
Yeah.
that's a start.
So the peer committee.
You can, I mean, the whole issue of legal, never minding the different categories, it's a moving target that you're not sure of, because you never know what's down the road. And we've had in 14, we had as much as $46,000. And it's ZBA, you have no idea in terms of what comes before, and if that's going to create a legal issue.
The ZBA had a Supreme Court case this year.
Well, yeah, and we've
And you don't
got,
have, I mean, it's sort of like, you're also not getting to offset with revenue like we normally sort of business. So if we can get some legal revenue of a 19-mile study that would get some payment from Wolfer on all of part of that, the baseline study, that's not gonna get reflected here. It's gonna get reflected on our revenue budget.
on the revenues.
Not to interrupt, there's a lady right here who's responsible for getting a gift of over $50,000 for cemeteries. She had to live with a lawyer to get the crane onto the property because the neighbor just wouldn't help them at the French cemetery. And she also coordinated another cemetery. So in a way, we've gotten our money back, but it's kind of convoluted. It's an example where you just never know where you need legal advice.
No, you don't.
Like buying insurance.
Could I comment on that?
Sure.
I mentioned to the selectmen yesterday that there was no training this year for trustees of trust funds or cemetery trustees. The person at the Department of Justice retired. They couldn't get their act together. It was scheduled, it was canceled, it was rescheduled, it was transferred, it was going to be on Skype. And then about 6 hours before that, it got canceled again. That was it. So you know, the state isn't helping us here with our legal training.
And then they pass laws like the abandonment law, which
Exactly.
does nothing but create turmoil.
Watch out.
I move that we approve legal expenses account 4153 in the amount of $53,500.
I'll second that.
It's been moved and seconded. I will take the vote pending Tom coming back, but I'll imagine it might be an issue. So. Those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Next one is 4155. Everybody's favorite.
What is it?
4155.
Everybody's favorite.
Yeah.
And thank you, Lloyd, for the nice rundown on the pending cases.
Tom, we passed the legal budget while you were out of the room.
Okay. I was gonna vote to pass it, too.
Okay, well, I took a chance. Okay. Where do we start? On 4155.
Well, the easy part is the Social Security, Medicaid, non-Medicare, sorry, retirement fund are all impacted by the 53 paychecks. We reviewed once again health insurance. This number, which is about $47,000 increase, includes an additional family plan for a new hire if the chief hires a full-time officer for the family. So that's $25,643.
Can I talk about that a little bit? Sure. You know, you're all aware this is my first year in the budget committee, and I've tried to be quiet and listen and learn, but I find it hard to be quiet about the health insurance. You know, this is a substantial increase. Do we put this out to bid? Do we?
We did a year ago and entered into or was it a year ago? I think it was a year ago.
Yes, it was a 2-year contract, so
2-year or 3-year contract.
this is our last, 2019 was the second year, I think.
So this is actually contracted?
We'll negotiate again next year.
So we entered into an agreement knowing we were going to get a substantial increase in the second year?
Well, I mean, we don't really have any control over the increases. We negotiated
Well,
what we
yeah.
could.
You know, but again, Melvin Billick Marina this year was facing, had been with Anthem for 10 years or 12 years and faced a 15% increase.
Yeah.
And we asked our agent, Granite Group Benefits, to give us alternatives. They gave us 6 great other plans to look at. We found a Tufts plan instead that was virtually identical, and it actually was less money than we paid in the current year. Forget the increase, it was less money than we paid in the current year.
For the same coverage.
The same coverage, virtually identical plan. They're all slightly different, but virtually identical.
Yeah, I'd certainly love to see it, because we looked at 7 different options on this plan for this year. And without going to I think a $10,000 deductible, there was no appreciable savings. We did change the deductibles and change the point or you can go whatever.
Yeah, I know.
And, you know, I don't know how everybody else does business, but if you, in 1 year, are gonna go to a $10,000 deductible, you actually have to put, when you have a $5,000 deductible, you really have to put $50,000 somewhere, because you can't impose a $10,000 deductible in a year. It just isn't.
I also don't understand the prices, because we have a $2,000 deductible, and we have several people actually have a lot of families on the plan for the
Right,
town.
and I don't know what group you're in either. I mean,
And-
the other thing we're dealing with is we're, you know, a government entity, so we have, you know,
Right.
it's a group.
It's a deep pocket.
Well, not only is it a deep pocket,
Yeah,
it tends to be
but
an age.
we
thing.
actually have a better plan than you do, and, you know, like our family plan's about 18,000 and some odd dollars.
Do your employees contribute to that?
We got to a point where health insurance started to become a major expense a few years back. And we said, all right, we've always paid for the employee.
Right.
The employee gets coverage for free, they have to pay for family members. And that only seemed fair because some people had family members and some people didn't. And it didn't seem right that one person was getting much more insurance than the other person. So they do pay for anything beyond themselves. And, you know, there's some of the people on the family plan have, you know, they're paying $220 a week to insure the rest of their family.
Oh, sure.
And theirs is free. Not free to us, but it's free to them.
So it says you added 25 for the additional family for the new hire, but did you also subtract out that we lost a staff member, so whatever they had for our policy would be decreased?
Right. We lost one member who wasn't a family member, or family plan. And just assuming that maybe we'll have to hire somebody that isn't a family. So,
But basically what you're saying, Chip, is these rates are really we're under a contract as far as the rates for this, until the end of this year, this coming year.
right, and we'll negotiate again next year.
Have the selectmen, as I asked,
Yeah,
I've asked a couple times, reached out to
I did.
other,
Actually, we do, and I have a number of reports from different local and county governments that we've pulled. I also reached out to some businesses. But you have to understand it's a little different than retail, for instance. It's more like accounting. So my reaching out was to Leone, and it was to a couple of.
I was thinking more in terms of not just government, but, you know, we're not a major employer, we don't have that many bodies.
Right.
But certainly the other towns, school districts, Brewster Academy, that type of thing.
Yeah.
Just to see
And
what
actually,
they're paying, what the level of participation is on the part of the employee.
and I found that most of the places that we looked at, the small towns, the 3,000 to 5,000 towns were pretty much 100%, but their deductibles were high. And that's how they compensated for that's how the employee ends up paying for the part of the insurance. But as far as and we looked at pay rate as well, to see how total compensation compared. And we're probably in the 85th or 88th percentile in there. I mean, we're not at 100% of what everybody's paying. We're a little lower. The benefits are pretty good, but we're not overpaying, it doesn't appear, for what we're getting. And I mean, we haven't hired anybody in a long time, so I don't know what the job market looks like.
And I'll add that despite, I also don't like the total, but seeing a fair amount of W-2s that have state employees, it's pretty close.
Yeah.
They're always around 25, 28, 30,000.
I was just struck looking at
Yeah.
the spreadsheet here that you have employees who are getting, you know, basic salaries that we all have already approved, so what are fair. But what's tacked on to that in some cases is, you know, the health insurance isn't even in the column here. But when you put on family health insurance, and you have people who are getting another 50% on top of their pay in benefits.
Yeah.
Well, that's
And
why
vacation
I
and sick
really
time.
don't want to add headcount,
Right.
because
But that's
the
not-
salary is just the beginning.
If you look at,
It's like buying a
like the
boat.
university system, you look at
Taken on.
you look at the university system, other government entities, counties, and the state, that's the factor you use.
Yeah, well,
It's 45 to 50%. That's, and part of the issue and part of the dilemma that I find myself in is that we're put into a group of people that sit at desks in government offices and do government work, and I don't know if that's a poor insurance risk or not, but it seems like
You're also paying
it's
for the-
expensive.
you're also, if you're grouped in with municipal, you're also paying, your risk ratio is going to be higher because you've got a fire department personnel, you've got police department personnel,
Right.
which they're gonna be rated at a higher position.
And
The risk
the
factor.
Higher risk
demographic,
factors
the
and-
demographic that I've looked at, it tends to be older. I mean, even the state's keeping people into their 70s now. And so it just pushes those expenses. I mean, look, and I'm gonna be in a red, but, you know, when we have to pay to have Medicare coverage, you know, that's $900 or whatever.
Well,
And Medicare pays virtually everything that anybody over 65 is gonna get, except for extraordinary things. It still seems too expensive. I mean,
Well, I do, you know, my philosophy is that once you hire someone, you do need to take care of them. You can't, you have to give them a decent benefit package. That's just my,
I agree with you on that, but I have a hard time thinking of 12 holidays a year. But everybody gets
Or
12
4
paid
weeks
holidays.
vacation, or 2 weeks sick time. It's the best job in Carroll County.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know about that, but it's,
Well, I do.
there are 12 holidays.
Just Ken Robichaud gave us the information. It's not that difficult to figure out.
And
Ken Robichaud himself wants to come to Tufton as soon as there's an opening.
Ken
Okay?
Robichaud?
Yes, he does. He
He's
said
not
that to me
coming
more
here.
than once.
So I was, you know, what you said about, 45% above benefits related to salary is eye-opening, because that's what struck me about this spreadsheet is we have a very, I thought it looked like a very generous benefits package.
Well, I'd love to sit down with you and compare notes, because we're gonna look into this next year.
Tom, what's your percentage in
Lloyd,
for your business in terms of?
I couldn't tell you what the percentage is, but of course, the FICA, the Medicare,
Yeah, well,
that's going to be the same every place. Where we differ is we pay less for health insurance. We don't have any $25,000 employee health insurance. We pay is $500 and something for the employee.
Or a New Hampshire retirement system.
We don't have a New Hampshire retirement system. They have a profit sharing, simple IRA. We have 8 holidays, we don't have 12. Everybody gets 2 weeks paid vacation and another week of sick time. But there's no personal time. There's nobody who gets 4 weeks of vacation and another 2 weeks of sick time and and 2 more days of personal time and 12 paid holidays. I don't know if they come to work. I'm just joking. I certainly don't mean to demean any of our town employees.
No, it's a
10
fact.
years ago, the average in the business community, in the banking industry, it was common that your benefit program was always in the area of about 40% on top of your salary. That was a basic percentage, that varied a little, I assume, but I can remember that. That was pointed out regularly when at your annual review.
In my days working as an engineer, they used to give you a little pamphlet every year pointing out what your benefits were worth, that it wasn't just your salary. And the funny part was they had a savings and stock investment program, and they said, and I was about 25 years old at the time, and it was 1974, and they pointed out to me that if I continued in that program, when I retired at my normal retirement age in the year 2014, and I'm 25 years old, 2014, that'll never get here. But, so, again, I mean no offense to any of the town employees or to the selectmen. I was just surprised by how big a chunk of money the benefits are compared to the salaries. But it sounds like that's not out of line, I guess. And it also is a moot point because the health insurance, the biggest chunk of it is under contract.
Well, it was contracted, we did use that same company, but we did look at 6 or 7 different options.
I guess that's what I was worried about, Chip, was, you know, is somebody looking at this?
No,
Is somebody trying to just,
roll over?
well, is somebody just hitting reset, you know, or is
No, and it's
somebody
like,
looking at
you
this
know,
and trying to save money?
obviously, we know we're gonna get our asses handed to us when we come to the budget committee. Sort of, you know, I know that Gordon was at the training for budget committees and selectmen that we went to, where he was told specifically that you can't ask us to do a payroll review. You can't. I mean, you can ask us, but we're not obligated to do it for you. So hopefully, in doing that review, I've sort of bridged that gap a little bit, but we have to have a little autonomy as far as what we're doing as well.
No. I just think every year it goes back several years. I told
You wanna take
some selectmen,
40%, you wanna take 40% off of this?
do I?
Yeah. Get rid of the insurance companies,
Yeah,
because they're pulling a 40% profit on it.
That's,
I mean, in reality, you know, this whole privatization stuff is not working for little towns like us and little businesses like you. But there we go.
you don't want to go into their asset structure either.
But I think, as I say, this bears more work next year.
Oh, okay.
Is it last year?
Lloyd?
Is it appropriate for me to speak, or do I wait till public session?
Judging by the crowd, I think I'm
Set a precedent for this crowd.
There's no one tighter than $1 than me. 17 years on the budget committee, and I'm in my 3rd term as selectman. Like this year, I took it upon myself again to look at a minimum of 8 different policies that are out there. And I jotted some notes then. Our 14 employees and our part-time people are our #1 resource. We're fortunate to have them. I didn't state it, but I'll plagiarize the lady sitting next to you. I don't believe in taking benefits away from people who have earned them. The current health plan is a bronze plan. If you really break it down actuarially, our employees are paying 40% in effect every time they go to the hospital or take their kids someplace or go for a mammogram or a colonoscopy. I couldn't believe it until someone pointed that out to me.
But then why is it so expensive?
Please let me finish.
Sorry.
The next thing is there needs to be continuity. You folks have families. You don't need your wife when the kid has a broken arm have to coupon shop, which is the best hospital to go to. I told you I reviewed 8 plans personally. Please look at that sheet. You'll find if it says has a number /15, there are 7 people who are not getting merit increases this year, 5 who are at the end of their pay range. 2 more stepped up and asked the selectmen not to consider them for a merit increase this year. That's 7 of our employees. That's about $45,000 right there by the time you figure their pay, Social Security, benefits, overtime rates, etc. Look at all the other employees. They don't work 40 hours. They work 35 or 36 hours. Guess what? If they have to stay late at the dump because a truck is loading, they don't get overtime. They only get straight time. That's a few bucks there. The other thing is, if you look at the other towns, he is accurate where we are. But we've had 4 instances in the last 4 years where our employees were injured. Guess what? They were covered by short-term liability and long-term liability. You know why? Because they take their own AFLAC plans. We've had 2 instances where wives have had cancer and they're covered. You know why? Because our employees took Aflac plans. Now, they did get the town rate. The bottom line, the other thing is, I'd be glad to list about 10 projects where we have saved money in other areas. Sodom Road was one, Lang Pond Road. You know, when it all balances out, we need to treat our employees right. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for letting me speak.
Teach you, but I'll teach you.
No, but I will also, in response to that, I will say is that part of my rule of business, my entire business career was if you budget a position, you don't budget personality. And this is not a slap in the face to any of the town employees. But if you're thinking about a position, you budget for that position, not for somebody who might have had that position for 20 or 30 years. And that's just business. And if we, you know, and that's what I have to go back to because that's what I understand.
Well, and that reflects on what Andy was trying to do. I mean, you're right, you budget, that budget, when he presented it to us, included a police officer with 15 years worth of experience. I mean, that's not the person he's gonna hire. So you're right, you budget for the position that you're filling, not necessarily the person.
And I say that once again, not to reflect on anybody who's worked for the town, but for a long term, because I value our employees as well. But bottom line is that you say this position is worth this amount of money. And that's how you have to do things. So that's all I have to say on that.
Yes, and Martha and I said it was meant to be critical of any town employees. I think we have good employees. And I agree with Helen, James, take care of good employees. I was just looking at the cost of getting and being surprised by it.
I move that we approve personnel administration account 4155 in the amount of $650,813.
Move, do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Moved and seconded, further discussion. Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
No.
The chair abstains.
I'm sorry?
The chair abstains.
Okay.
Disappointed, good.
Hmm?
I'm very disappointed.
Don't be. Next to the thing is correspondence. I don't have any correspondence from anybody. I did get some letter. New business, I think I've given as much new business to the town for good news to the town as I can for this week, so I don't have anything in the new business. Anybody have anything in the old business?
Well, I just have the calendar that I gave to you and the fact that I think that we have a considerable way to go and not a lot of time to get there. We still have $595,000 open, which is 16% of the budget.
Yeah, a fair amount of it's debt, though. In the bonds.
Bring it on. I mean, it just comes off of a spreadsheet.
Yeah, sure.
It
And then
just-
we've been looking at your list and going through it.
Okay.
And in spite of it, should I wait for the board to recognize me, or the chair, or probably should?
I'm sorry, I was looking at the calendar. Did I miss something in your conversation? I'm sorry.
No, you want my update though? I was just gonna.
Yes, I did.
I was just gonna carry on. So we've been looking at the list that Helen put together, as well as all the rest of it. We had no scheduled meeting for this Monday, but we're gonna have one in spite of ourselves. So that next Tuesday, when our budget meeting, we should be able to bring you the balance of all the rest of the old budgets.
Well, our next
We
meeting
don't have
is
a next-
not
we don't have a
until
meeting next
January
Tuesday.
2nd.
Okay, well, if you want to meet next Tuesday, it'll be ready for you. And we also need to go through revenues.
Yes, and the warrant articles.
Right, I'm gonna be reviewing the revenues with Diana on Friday, when I can make. And
I will not be here I will not be able to help next Tuesday. I have to take somebody to Boston for cancer treatments. But I would like to think that we could keep perhaps January 8th and January 15th in our back pockets. Those Tuesdays, because we have nothing scheduled between the 2nd and the 22nd of January. So if we get ourselves back to the position we have.
And I want to
Two
go through,
reasonable dates.
when you mentioned more articles, I want to go through the articles, excuse me, that are in the CIP, and also the ones that have been presented to us, and really look at them with a shot of the side. Because if we can, for one selectman's position, if we can accomplish the library in 1 year, I'd like to. I'm really not a fan of debt. And if we can somehow make that work for the taxpayers and for the budget, then I want to make sure we try.
If I might interrupt, I'd be willing to take a big tax hit to do something in 1 year like
I don't
that.
think it's even a big tax.
I don't care. It would be a big one if it was 1 year and done. I agree with Chip.
One
And
and done. It simplifies everything.
it's looking better all the time.
But-
Well,
And if it means not buying a police cruiser, not doing some project, or pushing it out for a year, I mean, that, we need to look at that whole thing.
well, this is,
And,
I would be honest with you, I would give anything to get it to a 50% vote.
yeah.
Even to get down to a 50% vote rather than a supermajority.
I had mentioned that, looking at the building budget and seeing how much of that we can offset for a year. I mean, is there a performance bond that we're gonna have to pay for, or do we wanna self-insure? I mean, there's a number of questions we can talk about. I think with Gordon's good efforts, it's certainly worth talking about now.
So,
Just show
and
that.
I just have another comment. Where we stand right now, we are $270,000 over last year's budget. It's a 7.2% increase. And we still have $500,000 to go.
We're hoping to offset some of that with revenue. And I
Well,
don't know that
you know, I agree with that. I think that's wonderful. But people look at the budget without the revenue.
Right. Which is unfortunate. But
Yes, it
we-
is.
And we'll drag them kicking and screaming. So.
Town meeting,
And it, you know, we haven't looked at the last one yet either. We haven't also haven't got to the,
Well, I'm glad to hear you getting out your sharp pencil.
I have a sharp tongue.
Do you have anything else, Chip?
I'm good, thanks.
Okay, then our next scheduled meeting date is not till after the new year, which is on January 2nd. And as I say, if we can, in the back of our minds, if we can just keep the 8th and the 15th.
so the next meeting is the 2nd of January,
2nd of January.
and keeping
Keeping the 8th and the 15th just in the back of our minds, if push comes to shove, but we need to get more things accomplished.
What is the date, what's the actual day of the 2nd of January?
It's a Wednesday, that's a Wednesday night, but
So which is a
That's fine.
variation
Oh,
the
that's
8th,
okay.
the 8th and the 15th are,
Tuesdays.
maybe you could, do you have this in a PDF form at all?
Yeah.
You
Oh,
maybe
well,
just,
Yeah, it'd be a double.
just email it to,
I can do that.
okay, tell them to email it to us and then we'll have it and see, so, you know. This is exactly where we're at lined up. And other than that, there is no public for public input, so I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
I second it.
Merry Christmas, everybody. Thank you.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Happy holidays.
All.
Hanukkah's over, so we don't have to worry about that.